All right, guys, welcome back. I'm just here. I'm backseat gaming, as always, in the parking lot. I think today I just wanted to talk about what games are the for you. Um, I don't know how to phrase that without YouTube censoring it, but I guess what I'm trying to say is like, what are the games that you are into that, like, even though maybe you haven't played them for years, you could easily pick them up, like as if you had just played them yesterday. The games that, like, all the secrets, all the tips, all the controls, like the games that you've spent an unhealthy amount of time in. Like, I'm pretty sure if Minecraft was on Steam back in the day, and you know how Steam will track how many hours you have in each game that you've played, it probably would hit the 4-digit mark, honestly. I think my mom probably could match that though in with Bejeweled on her phone and her tablet. I think she's played a lot of Bejeweled. But enough cussing. Cussing is not allowed on the internet no more. Let's talk about some series. I wanted to talk about this is like my jam type of game. Stuff that like I know like the back of my hand. And the first series that I wanted to get into is the Tony Hawk series. Way back on the original PlayStation is where we'll start. And it's funny, like I think I mentioned this in one of my previous videos. The first game in the series, as the first one I played, but I didn't own it, I would often borrow it off of my uncle because he was usually too busy for games. So he let me borrow a lot of his PlayStation 1 stuff. And the first one I properly owned was actually the second one, which is the most important one to me, is Pro Skater 2. It was one of 4 or 5 games or whatever I remember that I started off with on the PlayStation. So my original lineup for the PlayStation, like the first few games that I owned, were Tony Hawk, Pro Skater 2. This was Croc 2, Legend of Gobos. It's the second one. The original Rayman, that was another one I owned. Spyro the Dragon, that was the fourth. And then there was the fifth. Oh, and Spider-Man. Spider-Man for the PlayStation, which is a pretty good lineup. And honestly, I think is kind of like a micro version of my entire gaming taste, honestly, to this day. If you were to include like an RPG maybe in that would honestly cover a lot of my bases like that I'm into now. So Pro Skater, first of all, this is a game that I think started my love for skater culture. So I was not an athletic kid. I was pretty chubby, but I think that was more so like an unhealthy eating thing. Like I did play a lot of sports and stuff at recess and stuff like that. And then if like my cousins and stuff were like playing soccer, like I liked playing sports with people. Like I thought it was fun. Like you just get a game of something going, but I think when it was just me by myself, like, which is kind of what skating is, like if you're not by yourself, you're usually with other people who are also skaters, but no one else around me was skating. So it was very casual, my interest in skating. I didn't do much of it. I never got past just learning like very basic how to ride the skateboard. I think I appreciate skaters so much because I think skaters are very like they have this vibe that they're very like open and just like pretty chill about most things. And I think that includes music too. So in these games, if you're not familiar, they do a pretty good variety. Like I'm pretty sure like if you were to play the Tony Hawk series, at some point you can go from like Frank Sinatra to like Lamb of God at one point. So I think they've always strived to like that they're like no shame, right? Like the developers of these games know what they like, but they also try to make sure they include a good variety for everyone. I'm gonna put this here because I like the lighting with the window open, but I don't want everything to get all getting soaked. There's a background over this town. But I think for me, it's really important because I didn't have, how do I put it? Like I didn't have like an older sibling, type of deal, or I don't know, something like that. Or like we didn't have cable either, so no MTV. But what I'm trying to get at is that when it came to my music taste, I didn't really have anyone to like show me the ropes, like what was cool, what was not cool. I mean, said uncle was a decent source of it. I mean, he was born in Mexico, so there's a lot of like old school taste there, but also he was pretty young compared to my dad. So there was also a lot of like, hey, like I really like the Beastie Boys and NWA. But I also really like but also like Tears for Fears and The Cure, but obviously he's from Mexico, so like if you know what that is, it's like I also like Maná and the guys who made the Tren al Sur song that I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Like, but that was his music taste, and so that did help a little bit. But yeah, I think these games are very like, whoa, like other genres are good, like music is good. So I think I'll always be pretty grateful to them because they had this vibe of like it's okay to be into different things and it's okay to be in a good variety of things. And I think that was pretty healthy for my taste right from the get-go, because it wasn't like I had to be like a specific type of scene or whatever. And so culturally, like between, you know, my cousins and friends and stuff like that, like it really helped us, I think, not only shape our interests, but just have like this common, like, oh, we like started liking the same bands. We started liking like the same type of sense of humor, you know, like this is the first game I can think of that has like that, like I guess early community link like that for me. I will say this game also started my love for, I guess I'll just have to call them like combo games. So the best description I have for you is like if you can picture like those fighting games, you know, like where you have to like input a combo in order to do things. Tony Hawk is the same way. So you input combos and then you string along different types of tricks. Some of them are in the air, some of them are on rails, like when you grind a skateboard. And then some of them, I forget if the original ones had it, you do like flatland tricks. So your skateboard's like on its wheels, or you're just doing stuff that involves like, I don't know how to describe it, but it just involves like you're just on a flat surface doing fun stuff with your skateboard. And you want to string these combos back to back to back in order to achieve a high score or achieve a certain result, or just because it looks impressive that you can just keep your combo and your skate tricks going. But the longer you can keep going while still doing tricks is kind of how you tend to like achieve a lot of things in this series. And then not to mention too, like all the stuff that you could unlock in the original Tony Hawk games, like I feel like is just missing from games today for sure. This game, for example, like you get a lot of skaters. Obviously, you know, you get your like professional skaters and stuff like that, like, you know, Tony Hawk, name on the box. I had a neighbor that graciously helped me with just a bunch of cheat codes to unlock everything. But they did make it worth your while if you went out of your way to do that. My favorite classic example from Pro Skater 2 is you get to unlock Spider-Man as a playable character, because, you know, the guys from Neversoft did both the Tony Hawk series and that PlayStation Spider-Man game that I mentioned earlier. So he'll do some like, he'll be fully voice acted and stuff in the game. And like, there's a cool special trick you can do with him where like he'll launch his skateboard in the air and then like web sling it back to him, which if you don't know what special tricks are, they're just tricks that involve a little bit more of a difficult input. And it was full of that. And then like the levels in this game, for example, like I'll put it this way, like the last level you unlock in the Pro Skater 2 is like Skater Heaven. So you unlock like this floating rock in the middle of just space with like the hardest, I guess, stuff to do tricks on, but it's also like the coolest level. This is the first game I remember where like the idea of unlocking secret areas in levels really came to mind. So the first level in this game might be the first level or the second one, but in any case, it's a hangar level. Like it takes place in like an airplane hangar. When you play the campaign to this game, a common goal in each level is to find the hidden tape, which is just like a little, you know, VHS unlockable that you pick up in order to like get points. And they'll give you a preview of where it is every time you begin a level. And I remember seeing it on the first hangar level, like it was very different. It was almost like in this outdoors area. And I remember going crazy because I could not figure out how to get there or where it was. Like I kept trying to leave the hangar somehow, but I could not. Just from like getting to the later levels, it was easier to run into secrets for me in the later levels, like secret areas, like, oh, you unlocked them by like doing a specific thing. And then I remember going back to the original like hangar level and still couldn't figure it out. But just by skating around and trying different things, like naturally, there's a helicopter in the hangar. And eventually, I think just through trial and error, you're just playing the game, you learn that you can grind on the helicopter blades. And then if you continue to just experiment, you grind along the entire helicopter blade and not just like kind of touch it when you're grinding. The helicopter, this is like cartoon logic. The blades will start spinning. The helicopter will go upwards and crash through the roof, which unlocks like a garage door. And then like you can go through the new hole in the wall basically to go to this little outdoor area. This outdoor area with just like a simple like half pipe. And then sure enough, that's where the tape is. So just like that type of like vibe, I think is something that I remember very early on, like sticking out to me as like, whoa, like this is like awesome. Like, does every level have this? And so just like my love for the music, my love for all the unlockables, my love for games where like the developers will like let you go ham with the cheat codes. Like they include lots of like, you can turn off the gravity, you can have your combo meter be infinite, your grind time be infinite, you can have your skater have a big head if you if you choose to. Like just like the amount of love that was poured into this game, like the developers very clearly, I think maybe even love this game more than you do. This is something that just really stuck with me, and this is why I kept playing it even when I was a teenager. So later on, I got into the Underground series. This was like everything I just mentioned, but turned up to 12. So like, you know, because this was on the PlayStation 2 now, the levels were more detailed, the mechanics were expanded. So now if you really wanted to keep your combo going infinitely, you probably could, because they introduced this concept where you can get off your board, which did two things. It added like a timer that you could be off your board for. So you could now just continue to string between the air, between grinding, between doing flatland tricks. Like you could just keep your combo going forever if you were really good at the game. If you turned on infinite everything, you literally could keep it going forever. But my point being is that it was turned up to 12. So like getting off your board also meant that you could kind of like walk around the level and like really take it in at a much closer like detail. Like you weren't just stuck riding around the whole time. Like you could kind of breathe and, you know, get off your board and look around and see what else there was to offer. And that also included just like the unlockables in this game. Like for example, like you get a way bigger roster. You get a good chunk of just like fun characters. Like you can play as like a shrimp cart vendor and and like freaking a matador if you wanted to. And they really went in all on the sense of humor. So like culturally, this is around the time like the show Jackass was airing on TV. So skater culture was kind of like a little bit entwined in that. And they even like put it this way, like they even had in Pro Skater 4, Bam Margera started becoming a regular part of like the professional skaters. So naturally, once they got to Underground 2, like he became a pretty big focus, and they really went all in on that, like the whole like pranks and like destroying things and just being like a menace to society, which even showed up in the secret areas in this game. Like in this game, they did these things like where in order to unlock more of the level, you had to basically destroy part of it. So there's always on most levels like a specific type of trigger that would do something to either unlock a little area extra in the level or just change the landscape so it changed how you could skate through it. Like a really easy example is just like there's a level in Germany where if you grind on a specific train post, it causes the train to derail, and that'll just basically cave in a roof nearby. And it's real simple. I think it just lets you enter the building and you just get an extra half pipe. But they go all out and they show you like a whole cutscene of the train getting derailed and people running away from it and buildings like getting chunks torn off of them. Secret characters I mentioned earlier, like the guest cameos return, you know, like Steve-O from Jackass is a secret character. Shrek is a secret character in Underground 2. And this is the point where I think like I was like much older, so I was actually good enough to get decent at the game, which is where like the muscle memory started kicking in. And so now like I could go back to pretty much any Tony Hawk game now, and I know exactly like this is how the grinding works, this is how manuals work. I could string long combos. Like you could toss me into Underground 2, I think even more so than Pro Skater, and I could honestly play it like it was yesterday still. And so naturally also this was like a big influence on me and like my cousins and friends and stuff that were playing it when we were kids. This was like the party game, you know, like if we didn't know what to play, if we didn't know, hey, like we're kind of bored, like what do you want to do? It almost always defaulted to Tony Hawk because it's kind of hard to go wrong in that game, which is funny because it's only a 2-player game, but there was just always something to do. And like, I think it really, again, resonated with us. It was just so fun, like the sense of humor, just the sheer amount of content in that game. I mean, the unlockable skaters alone, I think would probably be like some type of DLC nowadays, you know, that you pay $15 for after you paid for the whole game. So it's just a signifier of a certain era that like I think is not present anymore. And I just played so much of it. it was so integral to like just me, family, friends that like, yeah, the controls is something that I could tell you exactly how to play even to this day. Talking about music, I gotta talk about the Guitar Hero Series 2, which is another fantastic PlayStation 2 actually, I think by this point, staple. This is gonna involve a lot of music talk, I think too, because same as Tony Hawk series, there's a lot of great music that I got into through these series too. And the way that I got into Guitar Hero, funnily enough, I remember being in middle school, and this was around the time I was starting to get really into Gorillaz, the band, the virtual fake band. I really liked to draw. That drawing was my main thing that I did as an art or whatever. So Gorillaz was like kind of like a union between the two things I love the most. Like I really love their music. I love music in general, and I also love to draw. And obviously, a huge component of it is like the artistical hand draw side. It's like between, you know, obviously Jamie and Damon, musician and artist. So big influence in me, especially at the time. A lot of the music I was getting into was typically rock, especially like alternative and like, I guess, hard rock, you know, like what's a good, like think Foo Fighters, Nirvana and stuff like that, Strokes. And then hard rock would be more like, I guess, I don't know, like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. I mean, that's not really hard rock, but I think you kind of get the picture if like I'm trying to paint. Like I was the black t-shirt with a band name on it kid in middle school. So I remember my cousin getting Guitar Hero 3 for the Wii around this time, and it was a pretty fun party game. It was kind of our go-to party game, you know, like I remember when we first got it, we stayed up just for hours, just getting through the campaign and trying to unlock all the songs. You know, I think back and forth, we would like do, try to outdo each other on the difficulties, or like, I think they had multiplayer ones, like multiplayer modes or whatever on the third one. And so it was just a lot of like back and forth. But I think eventually, just cause like, I was very into the synthesizer. So I just naturally, I think, had like a little bit of finger strength, or just like my brain was wired, I guess, to press buttons in a certain way with a certain rhythm. But eventually I just started getting really good at it. So as you progress up in difficulty in the game, they start adding more buttons to it. And so I think, at least between my family, like I was the only one that got up to like all 5 buttons, which I think is expert mode. But that's also like around the time in middle school where a lot of my friends also, that's usually how we would like bond, was over music. So a lot of kids were like, you know, some of them were kids that were really into rap. Some of them were into rock. Some of them were metalheads. I had one friend, for example, who was in a band in middle school, like not like, yeah, not like playing like Mary Had a Little Lamb in orchestra type of band. Like, no, these guys had like electric guitars and stuff like that. And in middle school, I wasn't allowed to go out to other people's houses. That's just, my parents are like just trying to be safe about it. Like I only had one friend up to that point that I had been allowed to bring over. So this was like the second friend I was allowed to bring over finally, which I think my parents are kind of wary because he was very like, you know, like black fingernails, spiky hair, lots of lots of silver, cool jewelry. Like I think I'm painting a good mental picture. So I managed to get him over, and he showed me that they had the second Guitar Hero, not the third one, the second one for the PlayStation 2. And that's how I was like, oh, I own that, cool. So I managed to get even better at it. So I was like fully into expert now. I think the first time you get to try the orange one, it's like the hard difficulty. So this is around the time I was good enough to be on the expert mode. And then I remember like I made even another friend who was not a metalhead, but he was more like, I guess, like a hard rock, a modern alternative radio type of guy. But he was also a little bit of a metalhead. I'm telling you, like when I was growing up around this time, like a lot of genres are blending, you know, it wasn't so much like you had rock kids, you had metal kids, you had rap kids. Everyone was kind of starting to melting pot it a little bit. But we would go back and forth, all of us. We would be like, kind of like, who's the best at this damn game? And then just get a little too into it sometimes. But it was a lot of fun. And we started even following like people that would post their stuff online. Like this was around the time that YouTube was starting to get popular. So people would actually like upload videos of them playing, I think the third Guitar Hero especially, but just the series in general, and just showing them playing each song like 100%. That was like the big deal. It's like you fully comboed the song. You got the best possible score and you played every note correctly in the song. So you full comboed it is what they would call it. And so we would lose our mind because there was a lot of, you know, kids and stuff online that would like full combo songs that were really difficult, stuff that like even though I was on expert, like I was like, man, I can barely just get through this. A really infamous one, for example, was that Dragon Force song, which is Through the Fire and Flames. Me and that second friend I mentioned, like I remember someone online 100% full comboing that song, which was a big deal. It was literally on like, I think, like gaming, like news publications that someone had gotten 100% on Through the Fire and Flames by Dragon Force. And it's such a humongous deal. It was one of those songs that like, it's like the final boss type of song of Guitar Hero, put it that way. And so we would freak out. We would always have something to talk about. We started talking a little bit about like fan games, because a lot of people made their own Guitar Hero clones and stuff like that, where you could like chart out your favorite songs that the official games hadn't done yet. And then I think I remember after middle school, just I moved to a different high school than like a lot of my middle school friends. Actually, all of my middle school friends. I basically kept none of my middle school friends except for one, which is someone I still talk to this day, my best friend. But aside from that, I essentially started from scratch in high school with like friend groups and stuff like that. So didn't talk as much about it anymore. And then especially I think I did pick up a copy of Rock Band at one point, which was a lot of fun too. You know, learning the drums and then obviously like the vocals and stuff like that. Like that was a really great idea. It was a good, fun addition to the series. Sorry, different series, but you get what I'm saying. But if I remember right, it was around the time that the second Rock Band, and I think like Guitar Hero 4 or something like that, I forget what it's called, came out, that I was kind of like, I started to lose interest. They really started pumping them out like crazy, you know, like too many of these started coming out that I think everyone got a little bit of a burnout on it. But to this day, like you pass me that controller with the 5 buttons, you know, like I'll know the order, I'll know what my favorite songs are on each game, I'll know like how to get through them in a good way. Like I bet I could still play expert really well, even though I haven't touched a Guitar Hero controller in like probably more than 5 years now. But just between like the friends that I made, same as Tony Hawk, the music that it got me into, the discussions like back and forth, there's a little bit of that community feeling, and it was kind of cool because that's like the earliest I can think of when, you know, you would hop on the internet also to see what other people were doing about these games. It's a great feeling, and it's something that really stuck with me growing up. And yeah, this game was my jam back in the day. What can I say? Let's take a hard left at Saratoga. I wanted to talk about, well, I've been saying overall, it's funny, like I've been talking more about series I've noticed so far in this video. So I guess I'll continue that trend. There's a series called Puyo Pop, which for us dirty Americans, I guess we weren't big fans of it, or like, I guess maybe the people in Japan didn't think we'd be big fans of it. Let me kind of story time it in order. So this is a game that I feel like gives me something called the Tetris effect, which is, I have it saved here, 1 second. So people who have played for a prolonged amount of time can find themselves, this is a really complicated definition. Essentially, the Tetris effect just means is like if you play Tetris and then you stop playing it and then you start seeing like the actual shapes and stuff in real life and you start imagining combos about Tetris in your head, like completely separate to what's actually like happening in real life in front of you. That's kind of the Tetris effect. So this is like my Tetris effect game, which is, I think, not a coincidence that it's a puzzle game. But the first way I was introduced to it here, there's a game called Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which is the bad guy from Sonic the Hedgehog. I had a collection of Sonic games, like that was the whole point of it. It was like for the PlayStation 2, but it was like a collection disc of old school Sonic games. And on that disc, you know, they had the main series, of course, like all the good ones, 1 through 3, a couple of side ones that were really important. But eventually too, once you get done with the big 3, like they also included lots of little weird things for you to try, like Sonic in a race car. Actually, that's not that weird to hear nowadays, huh? Other Sega games like Rise Star and Comic Zone, which just like, they weren't quite my jam, but you know, they still had like that Sega charm, great graphics, great soundtrack, just really cool games. One of the games though was just, it's just very bizarre because it's like you don't really associate Sonic the Hedgehog and puzzle games, but here I was like as a kid trying this. I was like, well, what is this? You know, it's named after the bad guy from Sonic, so it's not about Sonic, but yes, it is. It also has like the design from the 90s cartoon, which like I guess Sega in Japan, like they didn't really acknowledge or like. like how Sonic was here, like from the 90s cartoon. Like there's some characters from the cartoons and the 90s stuff, like American Sonic, that appears in this game that don't appear in like anywhere else in the entire series, put it that way. But anyways, Puyo Pop, here it's called Mean Bean Machine. I think there's probably a version of it on Nintendo starring like Yoshi or something, I don't know, like whatever, Mario. It's similar to Tetris in that you're trying to like link up similar colors in a row, whether that's like a row of 4, a Z shape, or a square, but just as long as 4 little bubble guys are attached to each other, you like will get rid of them. And then there's like, I guess like gravity, there's weight to these little guys. So if you getting rid of stuff makes stuff fall down and causes more and more things to link up, like that's how you get a good score in this game. I wish I could explain it better. The footage is going to do a lot of the work on this one, but just know that it was extremely satisfying to me to be able to like link combos and like the campaigns and stuff like that, where like it's like it has you beating all of like Dr. Robotnik's robot henchmen, and so it's really fun because you just like see like the progression, like and then eventually like the final boss is Robotnik himself. So it's like, cool, we're taking him down type of energy, you know? But unfortunately, after Mean Bean Machine, I don't think we got any more here in the States. I want to say maybe we did at some point, way later on, but I never encountered anything like it until literally adulthood, which I was like, well, I remember that game, Mean Bean Machine. Let me get more of that per favor, but no dice. Instead, as far as I know, the series stayed in Japan with its original name, Puyo Pop. The reason why it came over here, they made it Sonic and Mario themed, like when it came to the States in the 90s or whatever, is because they didn't think that we would like that whole anime aesthetic about the actual game, because it's very anime themed. Like there's one for the Dreamcast called Puyo Pop Fever, which I love it, and I love all the additions that they added to the game since Mean Bean Machine, and like it really challenges me. It's a great pooping game, but it's super anime themed, and I'll play it with like the volume muted because I'm trying to chill, you know. I'm trying to just play a quick session of just like Puyo Pop and just like 5 minutes in public or something like that, and you make a combo and you have an anime girl in your ear like, no. So it's kind of embarrassing. Maybe it's more normalized in Japan. I don't know. It's not as weird, but I don't want to be looked at as a freak. So I hide my power level here and I'll mute it. But I don't mind the actual anime theming itself. I have no idea what's going on in Puyo Pop Fever because it's, you know, Japanese exclusive. So I don't understand it, but I know how to navigate through the menus to play through the campaign and have fun. But it's one of those where like I'll still kind of know like the flow for it, like still to this day. On my little device here, like I still got both Mean Bean Machine and Puyo Pop Fever installed. So it's my favorite thing, like if I'm at a checkout line or just kind of kicking it somewhere, you know, like you pick up like a quick, literally like 3 to 5 minute session, beating a boss or just like kind of like trying to clear something or learn a different combo. And yeah, after I put it back down, I swear to goodness, I just like in my head, like I'll still be thinking about like the beans and stuff, or sorry, the Puyos. I don't know what they're called, but the little circle guys with the eyes, like I'll still have them in my brain falling downwards and the possible combos I can make and all the fun stuff like that. It's like one of those that I know so well, I could totally jump back into it. And it just gives me that Tetris effect that I'm like, yeah, even the anime Puyo Pop, but especially Mean Bean Machine, OG, those are my jam. And fine, you know what? If we're talking about entire series anyways, I gotta give props to the most Sonic games, both like the 2-dimensional ones and the 3-dimensional ones. So Sonic is like, it's funny, I might have mentioned at the very start before the PlayStation, I was like a Nintendo kid. Like I didn't own a Genesis. I might have been a very different person, maybe a cooler kid if I had grown up with a Genesis. But no, I got the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo from my pops because he really liked Mario. And I'm glad I did because there were some awesome games I got to experience through that. But when I finally tried a Sonic game, it was actually on the PlayStation 2. I was still really young, you know, I was like maybe 10 or younger when I first played like the first Sonic game on that collection. I remember it stuck out to me so much because it was like he controlled kind of like Mario, obviously moved way faster than Mario, of course, but you control like Mario, but I just felt like I was more like engaged with like the story that Sonic was trying to tell. And I just really liked the world, the design, just the aesthetic of like just everything about it. Like it just really resonated with me a lot more versus like Mario. Still loved Mario. And there's some unforgettable memories I have with that. But if we're just talking like on like a personal, like cool factor level almost, it was like, yeah, there was no competition, Sonic was the king there. Little guy versus the big guy, nature versus the big machines. Dr. Robotnik, again, he's got robots and stuff like that trying to take over the world. And just again, aesthetically, like I take a look through old Sonic art from the 90s and stuff like that. And there's something about it where he's kind of like very like Mickey Mouse almost, but with like an attitude that, oh man, like I think it's just like lightning in a bottle, and there's nothing really else, even to this day, like in terms of mascots and stuff like that, that replicates the type of dynamic just energy that Sonic had back then. And the music in these games too have some of my favorite songs in any game ever. So Mario, I think, was like very iconic. Like they really nailed, like this is a video game, but Sonic had stuff where I was like, yeah, like I'll be listening to this like secretly with, on an MP3 player on an iPod on the bus or something. Like this is dope. And they really like, I think, went out of their way just to do something that was just very like them. Sega had their own style to it. Like they really, like for example, for the Sonic games, there's one called Sonic CD that really borrows from like drum and bass and more jazzy or fusion elements. Like the main Sonic series, like 1, 2, 3, like were written by people that like played in bands and were really into like 80s synth bands and stuff like that. So it had a particular taste to it, the music, that like I think inspired a lot of my own musical taste. And it was just crazy seeing how like the story and everything flowed from the first one to the third one. And then you add like, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is like, guess what? You get like 2 games into one. Like it was just kind of like you compare it to Mario. Like Sonic had like this more underdog feeling compared to Mario. Again, their vision with it, I think Mario was meant more to like kind of broadly appeal. But Sonic just had like this unique coolness that, especially as a kid, like I think was just unmatched, And it was like, I think the first time that like I went out of my way for a video game series, like where I was like, I want to learn more about this on my own time. Like I would read the comics so that I could find out like the lore, like the actual meat and potato story about Sonic. And I would go out of my way to like watch all of his cartoons, all of his shows. I'd go out of my way to go look up like interviews with like the like certain character designers or game designers from the Sonic series. Like I really just like sunk my teeth into this stuff, like to an uncomfortable amount. Like I know way too much about Sonic the Hedgehog. So shout out to Cybershell. But it's only because, again, I just appreciated, I think, Sega for trying to stick to their vision versus like a wide appeal. Like, there's something about like, there's a common saying, for example, in the Sonic community where it's like, okay, the games are it's probably not good. Like the games usually stink, but the music is always banger. It's always unmatched. Or even like just the graphics, again, like the vibe in a Sonic game is usually a little bit more like ambitious too. Maybe the game might not be that good. I'll agree there with certain games. I'm the same way. But for sure, aesthetically, like Sonic always really brings in like the heat. And yeah, this even continued again when they went fully 3D. There was some stuff that didn't quite work in 3D. Like again, they really stuck to their guns. So they would include things like different gameplay modes or just like these weird side ventures that sometimes worked. Like the Chow Garden or the Chow Garden, I think it's Chow Garden in the first adventure game. But sometimes it just would not work. Like most of Big's campaign from that same game is a good example. But it was kind of cool that they would go out of the way to give that a shot. But of course, Sonic was always really fun to see him moving around in 3D, regardless of all the stuff that didn't quite work in those games. And I think that would honestly cement those games even more for me because of the fact that they would just try it and see where it would go. And sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. Even when he made that jump into 3D, like just that Dreamcast era is just very just unmatched aesthetically for me. But hey, if you'd like me to dig a lot more into the Sonic series, please let me know. I'd also invite you, YouTube formalities, to like and subscribe. I'm a brand new channel. I love talking about games. I think I'm trying to figure out like kind of what I'm into. I like Sonic a lot. I like Pokemon a lot. I like games a lot. I think I've been kind of all over the place, but also a very shared childhood with a lot of people at the same time. I don't know how that works, but yeah, like and subscribe. It would mean a whole lot to me, but we'll go ahead and continue. I didn't want to quite move on from Sonic quite yet. He's just my biggest inspiration for reminding people to subscribe, you know? But there's just a certain like expectation. The reason why I bring up like kind of like I could play these games like as if I had played them yesterday is because Sonic has a huge input from like the fan community. So some games I recommend checking out, I mean, if you haven't already, of course, because most Sonic fans I feel like are obsessive, is like if you really like Sonic, you know, there's series like Freedom Planet, where like the developers were very clearly trying to make a Sonic clone, but they're not just going to make a literal Sonic clone. You know, they understood what made those games so spectacular, and they wanted to do their own unique take on it. So you'll see like echoes, like they really do wear the influence on their sleeve, but there's enough different, especially in the first one between the two characters, that's the one I remember the most, that like you appreciate the differences, and you could still appreciate that you can hop into it if you're a Sonic fan because you have that shared history of the controls, the expectation level design. The music is still fantastic. The voice acting is a little wonky, but it really honestly is in most Sonic games anyways. But the story is awesome, and like it all works together great anyways, and everything they give a shot, like I still appreciate for it, all the risks that they would take. There's fan games like SRB2, Sonic Robo Blast 2, which has its own humongous history. I mean, this is like the first time I remember trying to get into like I'd actually try to make my own levels for this fan game. Like this is the first time I remember trying to dabble in game design, but I bring it up because it's a 3D fan game. Controls like butter. Like if you really get down to like learning the controls and stuff, it's awesome. It's completely transformed over the last decade plus. Like it was such a different game that it's amazing seeing the commitment that people still were updating this game. Like when I gave it another shot, I think like maybe like a couple months ago, just to see where it was, I was expecting to play through like, oh, nostalgia is a completely different experience, and it was just massive. And even like the mods for that game are its own community. It's like, imagine that, like a modding scene for a fan game that is bigger than most other games. And then of course, you know, games like Sonic Mania, where they literally hired fans to make their ideal version of what a classic Sonic game would look like. And a lot of people consider it the best in the series, which I mean, I think it makes a pretty good case for it. It's fantastic, controls how you expect, but also with just enough to like enough quality changes that it's like awesome. Music is great, visually it's great. Like if you're a Sonic fan, like you have already played through this. And I think that will honestly call it for this video. I've got some, I got some like runner-ups, you know, some honorable mentions that I'll talk about real quick as like stuff that I can like muscle memory / like play like I've just put it down yesterday. Minecraft and Terraria. I mean, I'll mention these at the same time. I know that Terraria is not just 2D Minecraft. I'm not one of those. I just know that the reason I didn't put them on here is because this video would have been probably like 3 hours long. And then I think too, just because like it didn't quite nail exactly what I was going for, because those games when I was a teenager, like 3,000 years ago, were almost a completely different experience to what they are today. Like they're one of those like, we love our game, so we'll update it forever type of games. So they're just very different. I mean, I could probably still do just fine in Minecraft and Terraria, and especially Terraria. And I'm familiar enough that it's not that much different, but I think enough has changed that it didn't quite nail, I think, the spirit that I was going for. And plus, not to mention, there are more like high school games anyways to begin with. And I did want a little bit of that like link to childhood in this video. Spyro the Dragon, that was one of those I mentioned real briefly as like the original PlayStation games that I owned. And yeah, I could play any Spyro game still, and it's muscle memory. I think the reason I didn't bring it up is just because like I haven't done much outside the first 3. And I think there's not that much to talk about because it's a single player game too, that I don't know. I felt like I just would rather talk about it in a separate video, which if you're interested in, I can. But it's a classic staple. I'll even lump in like Mario 64 right here. I think it's part of that whole like me getting into 3D platformers. I owe to Spyro, to Croc, and to Mario 64 as the OGs. And then I see it in all like the modern revivals of 3D platformers I play today. Like I don't think I would like that genre of games as much if it weren't for Spyro. And then finally Pokemon, which like, yeah, I mean, I play a lot of Pokemon fan hacks especially, and I could hop into any Pokemon game and kind of know what's up. You know, it's extremely muscle memory for me. But I felt like similar to like, I think, Minecraft and Terraria, like it's such a different series today that yeah, there's some expectations, you know, but I don't know. I felt like that also would be better off like more in depth in its own video, and it was just like either too long for this one or a little bit like, I think I could, and not quite in the spirit of what I was trying to talk about. I wanted to, I think, really focus on, again, gameplay. Like I can pick this back up, you know, Tony Hawk, I can play and immediately jump back in. I know what all the controls do. Guitar Hero is the same deal. I'm sure I could still play expert. Puyo Pop, of course, I still play that. I still play that at the checkout line at stores. And then same with most Sonic games. I know exactly how Sonic should control whenever you play one of his retro platformers. And I know what feels fun in the 3D Sonic game and what doesn't feel fun. So Pokemon, it's an RPG. And I feel like RPGs are more just like, that's the genre. So on the honorable mentions, it goes, what games are your jam? What are the games that you can just hop back into like years later, and it's like you come back home after a long day's work and there's a nice steak, medium rare on the table and a candlelit dinner. And I'm sorry, what were we talking about? But yeah, what games are your jam? What games are you an expert in? I would like to know, because I think it's pretty fun to hear about these. These are mine: Tony Hawk, Guitar Hero, Puyo Pop, Sonic the Hedgehog. What a list. Describes my taste probably to a T, honestly. And just let me know. This was my little channel, Backseat Gaming. Yeah, subscribe if you enjoyed this. If you haven't already, we'll be talking more about games. It's funny that I mentioned Pokemon. I think we'll be getting a little bit more into that series too, because I really like, I've been focusing on like the stuff that I'm pretty passionate about. And I think that whole series could use like a little bit more digging into. But in any case, I will catch you guys in the next video. It is cold, wet, and dark out here now. So I think we will stop filming. And oh, I'm sorry there. I got a little bit of Tetris effect in my brain, don't you know? No, but for real, so I'll catch you next time.